What is up, YouTube? Making some slop today before the state of play. We're here with Dreamcast Guy. No one cares about Nintendo Switch 2. Could this possibly be real? Yeah, of course it is. The Nintendo Switch 2 is a much worse version of the Switch. And the few upgrades it does have, congratulations. You can now get a free graphical update for Scarlet and Violet years after it came out. And all you have to do is pay $500 for it to look slightly better. What a steal.
Hey there gamers, Dreamcast Guy here, and today I want to talk about the failure of the Nintendo Switch 2, or I guess I should say the lack of hype, because I've been covering...
If I could whistle, I would. I'm gonna snap.
You can watch old videos on my channel going back literally 10 years ago reviewing like 3DSs and stuff like that.
God, I love the 3DS. The 3DS was good, man. I really enjoyed the 3DS. Why can't they make good stuff like Switch was great? Why did you switch to? I know why you switched to. You're a money-hungry goblin who doesn't care about people or games or gamers or even your own employees. Not for a very long time.
I mean, I have been covering lots of different eras, PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo, and it's very strange that right now we are 72 hours from the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, and I feel like you wouldn't know it. There's no big countdowns, there's no big hype, there's no big parties, there's no hyper-analyzing trailers. It just feels like a lot of people, even Nintendo fans, seem to be kind of saying, meh. Now, does that come down to the fact that there's not a lot of launch games? It's just Mario Kart and Cyberpunk, basically, that look halfway...
Oh, no, there's also Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and that Kirby game that all came out too long ago for you to be charging $80 to $90 for, but that's just me. That's just what I think. I'm just a logical and natural, cool human being.
Decent. Is it the fact that people are just bored of the Nintendo Switch? Because it is a strange thing that right now, the Nintendo Switch 1 is one of the most popular systems of all time. Over 150 million sold. Billions and billions just generated in raw profit, even from the hardware itself. But with the Switch 2, it doesn't have those games. It doesn't have that love. It's got $80 exclusives for Mario Kart. It's got $100 controllers. It's got a $500...
It's $100 for the controllers? I didn't even see that. Why are the controllers $94.99? Why? Is it because they put magnets in them? Yeah, that was worth the price increase.
Console, we have truly entered a different era of Nintendo, and it does feel like people are saying, I'm not sure I want to invest into this new vibe of Nintendo, which seems to be pay before you even enjoy the play. Let me explain what I'm talking about, and I want to take a look at a bunch of hot takes, because it feels like even Nintendo people are kind of saying, is this going to work? Let me talk. Hi, hope you're having a great day. And
I am having a great day. I had chili from Wendy's for lunch. I had a large Coke, feeling real good, waiting for the state of play. I am streaming. I am multi-streaming for the first time on YouTube and Twitch. Very excited about it. Not sure why my model's not showing up, but Dreamcast Guy, that's not your fault. Let's keep it going.
You can subscribe if you haven't already. Now, I have to admit that part of the motivation for this video is that I saw a lot of crazy stuff, like even mainstream journalists and stuff kind of paying attention to the fact that there really just isn't that much buzz. There's not that much excitement for the future of Nintendo. I even saw stuff like this. Did You Know Gaming is a kind of a trivia channel. They've gone back years and years and years. And
yeah, I used to watch all their videos, but then like it kind of started to get a little boring, and I wasn't enjoying it as much. And I do not remember when I stopped watching. I might still be subscribed on my main YouTube, but I would not. I don't think I've watched one in a very long time.
Fascinating that yesterday they put up a video that for the first time ever in the channel's history is hypercritical of Nintendo, which is the fact that Nintendo is now going for extra expensive products, trying to basically see how expensive they can make stuff and people will still buy it. And that's very antithetical to classic Nintendo. People forget the fact that, like, they've always tried to make stuff as cheap as possible. $200, even at launch, consoles at times, or $99.
Yeah, Nintendo's supposed to be the cheap option for, like, the family-friendly option. This is not that. This is possibly the worst option at this point.
Advances. Like, you guys truly cannot imagine how accessible to a broke kid growing up, how Nintendo was a lot of ways the place to play, because it was where you got good games, good exclusives, cool RPGs like Pokemon and stuff, and before all that, it was affordable. They're giving up affordability, and I feel like the higher price does not match the power output. Now, I do think part of it just does come down to the fact that a lot of the advertising for it, like today they just announced this like 30 minutes ago, hey, here's a 60 FPS patch for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Oh yeah, those games that launched totally broken, well, they still look very...
Yeah, good job, guys. Way to make all your money off of them, and then try to use it as a selling point for an overpriced console. Now,
very empty. But look, now it's less broken.
I
Can you
mean,
really say that this is exciting? Can you really say, yeah, man, that's totally worth $500?
I have a question. Are they going to put this out on the Switch 1 as an update? Or is this strictly only for Switch 2? Oh, wait. A trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet from the Nintendo Switch 2 has been released in the Nintendo Today app. So this is only Switch 2?
To play that
See, if
game
it comes to Pokemon news, I will trust Cerebi any day of the week.
from years ago, but it's less busted. This to me is just, it's not only not exciting, it almost shows how little they have to show off. In fact, a lot of the replies are about, hey, look, man, you got to buy that game. Here's that FPS and less bugs. Everybody basically is in the reply like, okay, so they're fixing a broken game that
Yeah.
shouldn't have been broken in the first place. Everybody is like, man,
Yeah, but they don't care because Nintendo doesn't have to care. They've got all those Nintendo stands who will blindly give them money no matter what crap they put out.
I just don't care about this. I'm not buying a Switch 2 to play last gen Pokemon at a more stable frame rate. That's just not exciting. Now, part of my motivation for this video was that I was critical of the original Nintendo Switch at launch. And a lot of it just came down to the fact that after the complete dumpster fire of the Wii U, I was a bit afraid that the Nintendo Switch really was underpowered. It just didn't seem to make sense to me as a product. But as it existed, as it got more games, as it got more ports, as it got stuff like classic Final Fantasies and all sorts of really cool stuff, I was really impressed by the passion that grew for the original Nintendo Switch. Like, when I see fan art like this to me,
I like this. This is cool. This is like a little homage to like all the different properties and stuff. Is this Halo? No, not Halo. Overwatch. Why is this Overwatch? No, that doesn't look like Overwatch. No one had a knife. I thought this was Mercy at first, and then this was McCree, but I see a staff back here. So I'm guessing this is what is it? I played one. Oh, freaking what was it? Fire Emblem. Is that Fire Emblem? I'm not sure.
is Nintendo. It's not just the games, it's this passion. This is something that feels very unique to Nintendo fans that I've always very much admired. I mean, look at this. The fact that it's got Xenoblade, you can see Mario right here, you got Samus. Oh my god, Breath of the Wild, you can see some Pokemon in here. This art is not just fantastic, it's absolutely super impressive. It evokes a sense of nostalgia and love for the current tense. This is going to be the kind of stuff that people are going to look back on as the good old days. But when I think of the Nintendo Switch 2, I just feel like I don't feel that same zest. It does feel like, hey, what if we took this, but instead scaled down the fun, scaled down the prices, scaled down everything. Like, I scaled down everything except the prices.
You know, it might be Bravely Default. I've never played Bravely Default. But a lot of these fantasy things kind of look the same. I'm going to assume this is Monster Hunter, though, right here.
Trying to make it as expensive as possible. I do think that some of the negative hype has just been about how pricey it is, and the fact that there have just been so many bad headlines. Nintendo has admitted the fact that they can break your Switch 2 if you do anything at all suspicious. If you try to game share and appear offline, they can just remote deactivate permanently your Nintendo Switch 2. They can just brick it. Your Nintendo Switch 2 requires constant online updates. Stuff like that, not a big thing. Also, the fact that they keep canceling pre-orders, so even the few people that are trying to buy it, yeah, good luck. There's a good chance you're not going to get it. I'm in a spot now where I think that Nintendo Switch has tried too hard to be a company. And it's ended up...
I think they're trying too hard to be a main console instead of what they're supposed to be, the portable. Also, if it's supposed to always be online for you to use it, how are you going to use it whenever you leave the house? It's not as portable anymore. You can't use it in the car if it's offline, right?
Blowing up in their faces. I think that the best eras of PlayStation, like the PS4 era, the PlayStation 3 era, and the best era of Nintendo is when they came out and just felt like dudes. It did feel like when they came out and we saw someone wearing a Crash Bandicoot shirt doing the Crash is back. Whenever they would talk about the
Crash is back, bro.
PlayStation would come out and talk about a deal with Hideo Kojima to make Death Stranding. It felt like your bros making cool art. When Nintendo came out and talked about a new Donkey Kong, when Nintendo came out and talked about these big ambitious projects, stuff like Mario Odyssey, which immediately was mind-blowing, it felt like they understood the magic of games. And now that the magic has faded and these are just corporations, it does feel like the silence of PlayStation is deafening. It's boring. It ends up hurting them because there's just nothing to be hyped about. And it seems like...
Well, we're getting some update today at 5 p.m. Eastern, about an hour and 12 minutes from now. So I guess we'll see what they have to say. It's about 40 minutes, I believe they announced. I don't know what's going to happen. If it was anything like the last one, they're going to announce some stuff that I'm not going to care about or play.
Nintendo has followed that trend. Of all things, they've followed that trend. I found this random tweet here, and I decided to verify it. It is real. For the United States, for the past 90 days, people are Googling PlayStation 5 like 10 times more than they're Googling the Nintendo Switch 2. This is kind of insane. And you can see the window here. This is going from March 1st to July. So this is current data, or sorry, to June. This is current data. We're coming up on the launch.
Ooh, that's
and we
not
have a
looking
bump
good.
this tiny, but it's still twice as low as just random averages of the PS5. That does to me, I think this tweet is correct, it does evoke the fact that there's just no interest in the
Listen, I hope it crashes and burns. Para, I don't know if you saw any of my messages in some of the Discords I posted in. I have confirmation that scalpers have bought all of the Switch 2s, at the Walmart closest to me. And I got a picture of a box full of Breath of the Wild games in Switch 2 cases, which are $90 physical copies of games that came out a very long time ago, and you can buy for a lot less on the original Switch, as well as not having a physical copy in them. They have digital codes for you to download because Nintendo doesn't want you to have physical copies or anything that makes you happy.
Switch 2. Maybe that's just the fact that it's not anywhere to see. It doesn't really soak into that casual gamer ethos. Like, 5 days from launch, this is a tweet by Woodhawker. He's one of the biggest, in my opinion, one of the best Nintendo Switch YouTubers. Obviously, I'm biased. He's a buddy of mine. Love you, Wood. But he points out
I didn't know
that
those
at
was
his
Switch
local
YouTubers.
GameStop, there is literally no marketing for the Nintendo Switch 2. I also saw this video where someone showed this is a Target, literally filmed today, and they showed the fact that literally, where's the Nintendo Switch 2 signage? Where's the Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders? Where's the Nintendo Switch 2 games? Where's the Nintendo Switch 2 controllers? It seems like nobody cares at all for the Nintendo Switch 2. Not even
As well, they
these
shouldn't.
retailers. There was this article that came out last night that I kind of want to talk about. Nintendo ended up releasing a statement saying this is false, but I do still find it interesting. Mokazuki has posted a bunch of different articles across the last couple years about essentially the business.
What
of
an
Nintendo,
ad,
what they're
man.
doing, why they're doing it. And he said that
6D6F6. What?
Nintendo is jacking up the price of the Nintendo Switch so they can make more upfront cash. They want you to pay as much as you could possibly get squeezed out of you so they make more profit. And they want to pass this on to the retailers. Retailers typically earn about 3% of the money for each console sold. They're trying to bump that up to 5%. Now, Nintendo has claimed this is a lie, but to me, this almost evokes the fact that I do think that Nintendo is afraid of the Switch 2 not selling at all. The Nintendo Switch sitting on store shelves. They want these people to push it. They want the retailers to advertise it, to give it good store space, to put it at the front, to make sure it's advertised. And I almost see this as a very, very bad sign. I think the Nintendo Switch 2 is oddly going to sit in the shadow of the Nintendo Switch 1 for at least a year or two minimum. Very, very, very minimum. It's weird that the Nintendo Switch has been so successful at converting people that are non-gamers into gamers and then into hardcore gamers.
And then they
But I do
ruin it
think a
with
lot of
Switch
people
2.
went on to buy PCs, to buy PlayStation
Guys, we
5s,
did a
to move
lot
on
of
to other
good
systems. And now,
making
if
gamers out of non-gamers. How do we reverse that?
they're looking at the power of their PlayStation 5 or playing on their Steam Deck, and you go, hey, time to buy a new $500 Nintendo Switch, which has a worse battery life, which has mostly digital games, which has the most expensive games on the market, the most expensive controllers. A lot of people are just saying, no thanks, I'm good, which is not good for Nintendo. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. How do you feel about the
Well, your
Nintendo
off-the-cuff
Switch 2
thoughts are
launch,
more
and
based
does
in a
this
lot
seem
of people's
correct,
entire thought
or are
processes
you
throughout the day.
more thinking that Nintendo will be fine? This is being overly skeptical of a business plan that historically has worked out. Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. This art is
You heard the man.
so good. I'll be honest, I have looked at this art like 10 times, and it still just blows my mind.
Can't replace a real artist, man, because of stuff like that. Really makes you feel something. Yeah, but rich idiots are going to buy it at 300% markup, and you know what? Nintendo's not going to make that money, the scalpers are. Which unfortunately feeds the scalpers, but fortunately does not feed Nintendo, pair. So that's at least a small win, if you can count it as that. Oh. Oh. Gotta do a stretch. Might need a stretch redeem to go with my posture check and my hydrate redeem. Holy crap. You heard the man. Like and sub if you liked and sub him. He's pretty base, dude. He calls himself Dreamcast Guy, but he covers like all the gaming areas. It's really good content because he's pretty up to date on all the new stuff. So I like to watch him, and he doesn't shill for some companies like certain video game people do. So he's solid. Let me know down below if you're excited for the Switch 2, if you're planning to get a Switch 2. What price range would you buy a Switch 2 in if you were going to get a Switch 2? I feel like I don't want to support them no matter what the price range is. It's still a lot of money to spend on something that's almost the exact same as the Switch that I have now. Like, I have the OLED. I'm happy. I'm good. I don't need a Switch 2. But I'm sure they're going to try and find a way to ruin that, so I need to get a Switch 2. And I won't. And that'll have to be the end of me playing Pokemon games. Sorry to say, sorry to think about. I've been playing since the original games launched, and Nintendo has done everything over the years to try and get me to stop playing Pokemon. It's so depressing watching one of your favorite franchises fall, if not my favorite franchise for video games. Hurts a lot. If you don't want to talk about anything depressing, you know what? Leave a comment down below about what your favorite Pokemon game is and why. I would love to hear it. I love talking Pokemon with anyone and everyone. So I'm happy to talk to you in the comments about your favorite Pokemon game. I like Gen 2. I know, pretty normal response, but that's because it's a very honest, sincere, and based response. Gen 2 was phenomenal, and you can't deny that. All right. Catch you later, guys. Stay safe, stay hydrated, take care of yourselves, and as always, take care of somebody else. Love and nachos. Mwah.